What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Labor Day weekend brings an unofficial end to the summer. So today I want to look back at the 7 best barbecue servings of the 2025 summer smoking season, including some of the great stuff served at Pinehurst Barbecue Festival just a couple weeks ago. And I'll include a recipe for my own summer cooking experiment, which turned out to be a crowd pleaser around my house. Summer brought big news to the barbecue world as well. We'll talk about that too. And in this episode, we'll also look ahead to some of the upcoming events you don't want to miss. I'm Chigger Willard, and you're listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Thank you so much for joining me on this barbecue journey across the Carolinas and beyond. Find out more about our episode. If this is the first time you're joining us or you're a longtime listener, you can learn more about our podcast at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you'll find our blog with lots of barbecue event information, recipes, reviews, maybe a few barbecue opinions. Our website also features our podcast with interviews with some of the top pit masters in the Carolinas and across the South. We've got Garen Kirkman from John G's in Peachland, Robbie Robinson from City Limits in West Columbia, Jordan Wright, Northwest Arkansas, and there we've got an interview as well with Brian Furman. He's all over the place, South Carolina, Georgia, Harvard sometimes. You can hear our interview with him from a U-Haul truck rental. All that is at lowslowbbqshow.com. Now, on to the content for today, our top 7 barbecue servings of the summer and 2 desserts. Let's define serving first of all. So that could either be a meat or in the case of festivals, maybe it's a meat and a side. It's fairly subjective, just whatever I've been served at one of these barbecue restaurants or businesses or festivals that I've visited during the summer. And speaking of summer, let's define that. We know that the meteorologist and the official calendar have sort of seasonal calendar differences, but we're going from Memorial Day until Labor Day and counting that as summer. So there'll be nothing on this list from the Carolina Barbecue Festival in the spring or from the Holy Smokes Festival in Charleston in the fall. We know those are 2 big deals. Lots of great barbecue bites there, but I'm just focusing on the summer. And I'm going to do it in chronological order because that's kind of how I had them in my phone and my Instagram page when I was trying to remember what all did I eat this summer. And there's been a lot. So chronologically, from the Pinehurst Barbecue Festival, we sampled Matthew Register's pork belly with chilled rice salad and charred okra and tomatoes. Of course, Matthew's with Southern Smoked Barbecue in Garland, and he's always doing some kind of chefy stuff in addition to a wonderful barbecue foundation of meat. And his pork belly was such a wonderful bite. It was tender, flavorful. I mean, it melted like butter. And of course, that chilled rice had a little bit of a sweet taste to it. That complemented the pork nicely. And of course, with okra, man, I love okra. That's all that can be said about that. I love okra. Put okra in it. I'm on board. So that's one bite. Another serving I enjoyed at Pinehurst Barbecue Festival was from Prom Barbecue's Christopher Prieto. And that, again, was the best brisket bite of the summer for me. He shared with us his Iridori Wagyu beef with sweet slaw. And, man, that meat was perfectly smoked. It was so melt in your mouth good. Just a touch of sauce on a slice of wheat bread. And I learned from the guys at Fort Grove Barbecue, Dylan Cook, that's a foldy. So his brisket foldy was really on point. And that sweet slaw was nice and light. It was a good counter to the meat. Hey, I might or might not have sullied that last bite of brisket with slaw, pickled onions, all kind of mashed in that foldy white bread for a big brisket bite with slaw. Oh, I love to mix it up. It's good stuff, good stuff. Wonderful by itself, but all those things combined for a really nice bite. Last piece from the Pinehurst Barbecue Festival on my top 7 servings, chicken wings from Pinehurst Brewing and their macaroni and salad. Benji Ajaya had such a wonderful taste. I got to actually interview him while the smoke was going on right behind me. Had all kinds of great smoke coming around us. And check out that video on YouTube for our interview. And we talk a little bit about the wings, which had such a wonderful smoky flavor on them. You could really tell it had the smoke that, like I said, was kind of coming up all around us. And again, the cold macaroni salad that he served with it had little bits of ham inside. It was nice and creamy, cheesy. Oh man, it was so good. So that was my third bite there at the Pinehurst Brewing Festival. Now, these aren't in, best to worst order. They're just kind of how I had them in my phone. And like I said, that was a really great bite served from Benji there at Pinehurst Brewing. A little bit closer to home for my next bite, that's at Cranford Brothers Barbecue in Hickory, North Carolina. Of course, the Hickory Metro, home of the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. And their menu item is the Dr. Sticky Bond. That's a Dr. Pepper sticky pork belly pickled in veggies, with pickled veggies, hoisin, aioli, and fresh herbs, all on an Amorosa roll. And with that, a Texas Twinkie. Tell you what, those guys at Cranford Brothers have updated the menu. They've got some new things out there on it. Chef Ben Sullivan, he's always doing some cool stuff, both there at Cranford Brothers and at City Walk and at Main Chick, their breakfast joint, all kind of in that same building. Ben does a nice job. And that new menu came out mid-August. And of course, the Texas Twinkie was part of that as well. All that combined for a really nice serving at Cranford Brothers Barbecue. Cranford Brothers have a cool event coming up just in a couple days from now, September 13th. It's their oyster roast and pig picking. It's an all-day affair with raw and steamed oysters, pulled pork, sides, live music. If you don't have tickets yet, hurry up. Again, that coming up September 13th, just a couple of days from now. My next big favorite bite from the 7 is Golden Rule Barbecue Sandwich. Remember Golden Rule Barbecue back home in Birmingham? And maybe that's my old hometown favorite. It's something trips a switch with me, take me down nostalgia and memory lane with that sandwich. So maybe that's why I included in that. I'm not going to confess. There's some home strings pulling there. But they did have a perfect sauce, and they combined the outside brown of that chopped pork into the sandwich and a pickle on top. Like I always remember, it really was a nice bite. And you guys might have heard Golden Rule won the Guinness World Record for most barbecue sandwiches served in a day. They stole that away from the Barbecue Fest on the Noose. The new record number was 6,215 sandwiches. Of course, they had a little bit of help. It was a 95-cent sandwich day, and as part of their celebration for Golden Rule's 134-year-old legacy. And I was so excited to get to Golden Rule this summer in that original location. They claim it's the original barbecue sandwich, the oldest barbecue joint in the United States at Golden Rule Barbecue. Hear more of our conversation over at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's from our July 4th edition with the marketing guru Daniel there at Golden Rule. Next one up on the list of our 7 favorite barbecue servings, Black Powder Smokehouse's Cheerwine Chicken. Now, I like cheerwine and I like smoked chicken, so that makes it for a great combination. And that Cheerwine Chicken, I've been seeing it all the time on the Black Powder Smokehouse's Instagram feed. Now they've got a new one there with Ashboro featured, so 2 Black Powder Smokehouse feeds. They're always putting up their daily specials there. Lots of great pictures of the food, everything that's going on there with a big brisket, Keith Henning at Black Powder Smokehouse. A lot of news about him lately, including his new restaurant. We'll talk about more of that when we get down to the business portion of our episode today. But I loved that Smokehouse Cheerwine Chicken there at Black Powder. Was so good. Actually visited their Jamestown location while in the High Point and the Greensboro Triad, sort of that same area. Went to High Point Swim Park. Took my kid out there. If you've got kids, you're always looking for a summer water adventure. This is a nice one. It's a great price for a water park in the Triad, not like the Emerald Isle where there's always big crowds and pretty big ticket price tag on there. The High Point Swim Park's a lesser known park. They've got 3 or 4 big slides. They got a lazy river, an Olympic sized pool. It's a free plug here for the High Point Swim Park. But if you like to do the summertime thing, you're looking for a place to do it, that's one to visit. And while you're there, slide over to Jamestown and check out Black Powder Smokehouse. Now, before I get to my 7th best barbecue serving of the summer, it's probably the least of all these. Let me give a free plug for some dessert. You can't have a barbecue meal without some great dessert. And I'll stay at Black Powder Smokehouse while we were there in Jamestown. Got a slice of the peanut butter pie. Man, it was such a huge piece of pie. Find it on my Instagram. If you see my YouTube, I'm making a motion in my fingers of how tall that pie was. Easily 2.5, 3 inches tall, thick, with big, buttery, chocolatey chunks of peanut butter on the top. In fact, it was so big, I could only eat half, and that's with my son's help. Brought home the other half to the wife, and she enjoyed it quite a bit. So while you're at Black Powder, save room for that peanut butter pie. My second dessert on the list, also sort of nostalgic, takes me back to Birmingham. Archie's Peach Fried Pie with ice cream. That's Archie's Barbecue. It used to be the Golden Rule until Golden Rule kind of went down the drains with it, the original brand and some of the ownership. And Archie started his own franchise in that place. And man, the fried pies are just like what I remember. The hot, fried, buttery, flaky crust with a warm, peachy insides alongside a big old scoop of Barber's vanilla ice cream. Man, that was a perfect sweet treat in the middle of the summertime heat in Birmingham, Alabama. So check that out if you're in that area. Archie's Peach Fried Pie, or if you like peach fried pies, get one somewhere else. Always get the ice cream. Last and probably least of the most famous or tasty barbecue bites, considering all the predecessors that we've had here in this list, that's Sugar's own recipe. It's barbecue lollipops. I cooked that a few times, and I also include with that barbecue serving with the barbecue lollipops and my mom's 4th of July baked beans. And go down the old Lollipop Avenue. That's with chicken drumsticks for those who don't know. I always like to look out for the price on those when we visit a grocery store or something like Costco. And usually the price is right for a big old package of drumsticks when you go to Costco. So that's an easy buy. So you get you a big package of drumsticks, French cut, the drumstick. And let me tell you, that is an enormous pain in the ass. I mean, that's a big pain trying to cut the French cut on the drumstick. That means you kind of cut around the edge and pull that meaty chunk off the non-meat end of the leg, down there towards the foot end of where the chicken does his moving around business. At any rate, to help, get you some really good sharp kitchen scissors, but be careful. Don't cut yourself. It's easy to stab yourself. Maybe get you some real thick, heavy duty gloves. Once you've got them French cut, you rub in your favorite rub. I use some of Blue Suede Barbecue's Memphis Dry Rub. I know that's typically for ribs or something else, but it went really nice on my drumsticks. In fact, mentioning Blue Suede Barbecue's Dry Rub, it's actually a first place winner in the Pinehurst Barbecue Festival sauce and rub competition from a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations to Chris. His sauce also won first place for the mild barbecue sauce competition there. So once you get your rub into your drumsticks, you're going to let your meat sweat, get your smoker going. Once you get it up to about 275, you'll want to wrap some aluminum foil around the bare bone end of your drumstick. You want to try to push the meat down like you can, as far as you can down there towards the joint, make it kind of lollipop looking for you. And you want to melt a stick of butter in a roasting pan. That's what I usually use, is one of the 3-inch deep roasting pans. Melt you a stick of butter and then put your drumsticks in there with your foil ends up. Smoke them for 2 hours until the internal temperature reaches 170 degrees. Then you want to heat up your favorite barbecue sauce until it just starts to thin. You probably do that, as you know, in those final stages of the chicken cooking. Get that sauce on the smoker or on the stove, start to thin it out a little bit. In this occasion, I used my own Cheerwine sauce recipe, which just happens to be Midwood Smokehouse or Midwood Barbecue's Pitmaster Matt Berry sauce. He's got a great cola sauce they use on their burn ends. I just put Cheerwine in it and call it my own sauce. That's fair. If you want to find that recipe, it's at the Low and Slow blog under a Midwood Smokehouse there in the cola recipe. So once your drumsticks have smoked for 2 hours, you want to coat those drumsticks in sauce, take off the foil, put the drumsticks back in for another 30 minutes. The results were great, I tell you. It came right off the bone, nice and moist, also nice and smoke tasting, and that sweet Cheerwine sauce on the outside really makes for a great bite. Now, again, if you've got kids love drumsticks. This is kind of a way to fancy them up. Just don't cut yourself trying to French cut those drumsticks. Again, the results were great, and you put them alongside Mom's 4th of July baked beans. That's hard to beat. Recipe there also is at lowslowbbqshow.com. It was in our Independence Day barbecue recipes blog. That blog links back to a lot of recipes that we have around the site from some of the pit masters that we talked about before and we've interviewed over the years. So let's move on to some barbecue news from the summer. First, barbecue fans in the Triangle named Picnic their favorite barbecue restaurant. This was all part of a News and Observer poll. If you don't know, Picnic opened in 2016. It was in a big rush for barbecue in that area. It started whole hog cooking. Maybe one of the only folks around that area is actually doing legit whole hog, but they were serving some other things for a while. Chris Holloway took it over in 2023, and he was a food service veteran and apparently lived down the street from the Picnic location. So it was a perfect match, something he'd always wanted to do. He jumped on board. Now, a couple of years later, he's been named the favorite among News and Observer readers, the best in the Triangle. Congratulations to Mountain Man Kyle Briner. He won the Season 6 Food Network's Barbecue Brawl. A lot of you folks probably saw it out there. He runs Blue Hound's Barbecue and Grill in Dillard, Georgia, serving what he calls Appalachian barbecue. Now, a lot of folks probably know Dillard is just south of the North Carolina border on US 23. You can find Kyle Briner, the Mountain Man, at festivals in Cashers, Highlands, sort of that part of North Carolina, probably Franklin and Silva as well. If you keep your eyes peeled, he shows up a lot in those areas. Or if you're around Dillard or live in that area, it's an easy drive to check out Blue Hound Barbecue and Grill. In sad news from the lowdown over the summer, Steve Grady died August 26th at his home. He was surrounded by family, age 90. The restaurant closed a couple of days. It's back open now. For those who don't know, Steve and his wife, Jerry, opened that restaurant, Grady's Barbecue, July 4th, 1986. Both had retired from their careers. Nearly 40 years later, it was clear Steve had really helped shape the legacy of Eastern North Carolina barbecue, especially as a person of color, forging a road ahead in Dudley, in that part of Eastern North Carolina. And they turned out a great product and wonderful service. If anybody that's been there certainly knows the impact of Steve and that barbecue restaurant in the tradition of North Carolina. Steve was inducted to the North Carolina Hall of Fame last year and entered the American Royal Hall of Fame in 2024. Some barbecue business bites from the summer. Black Powder Smokehouse co-owner and pitmaster Keith Henning, we mentioned him moments ago. He's opened a new venture called The Gathering Table. That's at Furniture Land South in Jamestown. If you didn't know, the world's largest furniture showroom. You want to check that out. They always have a big furniture market at High Point, Jamestown, in that same area. If you're in that part of the world, visit Furniture Land South and check out The Gathering Table. It's not barbecue. I'm sure he's got some good smoked meat on there. It's a little bit of a different flavor to what they're serving there, more attuned to what they do or might look for at a furniture showroom or display gallery. There are new owners that are reviving Kepley's Barbecue in High Point, sort of. Jeff and Angel Little, they're taking over the business location and rebranding it to Little Roadhouse Grill. Don't worry, barbecue's still on the menu, but that generations-long name, Kepley's Barbecue, is gone. Shepherd Barbecue opened a new location in Wilmington's Cargo West. If you go to Wilmington, check out our man Shepherd over there. Just had a brain fart and forgot his name. Shepherd Barbecue. Check him out. He's still operated on Emerald Isle sometimes, but the Wilmington location offers more steady traffic in the beach off season for Brandon Shepherd of Shepherd Barbecue. I knew I'd find it somewhere up there. After 8 years, the Pot Smoker Barbecue closed its location in Aiken, South Carolina. They plan to relocate in this coming months. That's according to the Pye family, who licensed the name and operates that business. Also closing, Clyde Cooper's Barbecue. They sold their downtown Raleigh location for $2.24 million. The owner had previously shared plans to move that restaurant away, and they're starting to get some plans out there in the world where they're going to relocate. You can check them out. Follow the lowdown for the latest updates on that. Resident Culture also closed its South End location. Now, that's a brewery, but I mentioned it. They had a short-lived barbecue menu that was once part of their food program there. Back to the good news of business. Improper Pig is planning a new flagship location in the Plaza Midwood this fall. Known for its fusion of barbecue and Asian cuisine, the new spot's going to feature new menu items and updated beverage options. Finally, Sip and Cinder is a new cocktail and barbecue concept restaurant. It's coming to Waxhaw in October. Expansion of the Flipside Restaurant Group operation in Fort Mill and Rock Hill. This restaurant is a 3,700 square foot location on North Broome Street in Waxhaw. Let's take a look at the calendar of upcoming events. First is festivals. Hog Day is coming this weekend, September 12th and 13th in Hillsboro. They'll have a car show, barbecue, music, pigs on parade. In case you didn't know, Hot Dog Day is has been an Orange County tradition since 1983. They raise funds for youth programs and services. More details at hogday.org. Bands, Brews, and Barbecue is September 13th from 4 to 9 in Mooresville. And the Fire in the Foothills competition is happening September 27th in King. It's King, North Carolina. This is a Kansas City Barbecue Society event, but you can go buy a tasting package and try 10 barbecue samples, then vote for your favorite in the People's Choice Award. That's Fire in the Foothills in King. Carolina Barbecue Festival is teaming up with Max Speed Shop for a fall pig picking. That's going to be October 19th. It's part of the celebration for Max Speed Shop's 20th anniversary. That event from 12 to 4 promises great barbecue delivered by an all-star lineup of pitmasters. Some of those names are floating out there now. Of course, Sweet Lou will be on there. You'll have Max Speed Shop. I think I saw Matthew Berry there. A handful of other pitmasters will be there. Visit CarolinaBBQFest.com. You'll find out more details there. Lexington Barbecue Festival is also coming up in October. This is the 25th. You know, that's a little bit of a different festival. It's an arts and crafts fair, and all the barbecue restaurants are there serving and selling their barbecue favorites. So you could probably go by and take a sample of everybody's sandwich in town and get them all in one place. It's going on 8:30 till 5:30 in downtown Lexington. If you haven't been, you should check it out. There's free admission. It's a little bit different than what they do in Pinehurst or at the Carolina Barbecue Festival, but it's still a good barbecue tradition, a fun thing to attend. There's a few fundraisers on the calendar. Chefs on Fire is September 18th from 5 to 8 p.m. Frog Level Brewing Company is the host. That's in Waynesville. Proceeds are going to benefit the Waynesville Public Art Commission. Our buddy Ben from Ben's Backdraft Barbecues providing the barbecue. Also, mark your calendars in the Asheville area. Scout Troop 17 is having their barbecue dinner. It's at the Riceville Fire Department and Community Center in Asheville, October 11th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mark your calendar. You can help buy flags for the Scouts who put on graves of veterans on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and 4th of July. Some competitions are on the calendar as well. Our friends over at the Southern Barbecue Network are going to be putting on a couple here in the month ahead. Of course, this weekend actually is the Jamil Shriners Barbecue Cook-Off, September 12th and 13th. That's in Columbia. And then coming up in October will be the Bessemer City Brew and Q in Bessemer City. We include events, food truck schedules, fundraisers, and competitions in every weekly edition of our Lowdown newsletter. If you want to submit your barbecue event, just email lowandslow@gmail.com. Spell out barbecue. And that, my friends, is the final word for the Low and Slow Barbecue Show this week. You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Be sure to visit the Mesh.tv and see other podcasts in the networks. I'm a big fan of Big Fan. That's with Chad and Hank talking about the next sports, movie, news, games, whatever they're a big fan of in the moment. I'm sure you could probably relate. Just find the Big Fan at the Mesh.tv. If you like what you hear in our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast stream. Share our podcast with your food-loving friends, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Don't forget, there's many more interviews and blogs at our website, lowslowbbqshow.com. While you're there, sign up for a free newsletter. You'll get the latest barbecue news delivered to your email inbox Tuesday mornings. A big thank you to the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts, especially our producer, Andrew Moose. Finally, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.